point.
Hmm. Okay. So in terms of, so has your sort of mentoring with her in that structure completed then, or are you more working on that other project with her, or how is that going?
Um, I would say, yeah. I mean, I think the fellowship we did like a 6 month extension that I think took it just to March of this year.
Okay.
And that was basically to get the paper I just mentioned that got accepted kind of wrapped up.
Oh, okay.
So I think anything that we're doing now is outside of the fellowship, if I'm thinking right.
Okay. And
And
so,
like, and so we've had kind of a non-conventional, probably, or I've had a non-conventional participation in that whole program. Like, I've never gone to, I went to Oxford to meet with Lynn once, but I haven't gone to any of those like fellowship meetings that I know you have.
the yearly ones.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So from your perspective, what was your experience like? I know you took it on in the middle and things like this, but you know, is there anything that you would tell like another mentor if they were coming into it? And would you give them some advice about this? And what would you say?
Um, well, again, it's down to people, and Lynn's just amazing.
Hmm.
Um, so I mean, her intellectual contribution was incredibly helpful. She had right skill sets that paired with skill sets that we had. So we learned from her. The data that I mentioned that she used, we wrote up in study reports that were part of our filings.
Hmm.
Um, so and Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say that I think she added a real level of just high intellectual input that enhanced the program. It enhanced probably our, the credibility of the drug and the company's submission based on an external, well-published academic, participating. So yeah, I thought it was absolutely great, and that's why we've continued to work with her on additional trials.
Okay. Um, and then on a sort of broader note, would you would you be willing to be in the program again as a mentor, or is that something that is, sort of not in your foreseeable future?
Um, yeah, I mean, if it made sense, I guess the thing that I ask myself is, I guess it just seems so collaborative from the beginning. I don't the whole kind of statement about mentor mentee didn't feel that way. I felt more just like kind of a peer collaborative thing.
Okay.
I think Lynn, I think she did learn a lot about drug development and what it takes um, as a part of that phase 1 submission. But I just wonder, once she kind of got a view into the company and how things worked, um,
Mhm.
yeah, I guess that would be good for another person to have, but I don't think it would make sense to like for Lynn to continue as a fellow, right?
Hmm. I know the structure with her was a little bit different from like the next group of intakes and things like that. So,
I
um,
guess that's what I don't have perspective on is whether like how the other relationships are structured and if they're kind of more formally, uh, you know, talking about industry and academia generally, or if all the other ones are just kind of individual scientific collaborations and they all just look different depending on the two people who are mentor mentee.
well, there is that difference, right? And yeah, I know with the earlier sort of intakes, especially particularly like in mine, it was a bit more about, well, we knew people on on the industry side who are doing something like in parallel that we could help with or something like that, and then developed it,
Uh-huh.
that sort of thing. But I mean, all of the structures are very different, and so sort of in Lynn's case, she had another mentor come in, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen, so I thought, well, I should at least get the sort of last, I guess, year and a bit that she had with you, and to see, how that was going on.
Yeah, I mean, we were very, kind of ad hoc. Like, we didn't have a regularly set, meeting time and date, and we didn't necessarily talk about, our career paths. We had regularly had things to talk about, and so we were just ad hoc talking about the science and how it was being used, and her insights. Whenever, we oftentimes were at common conferences together, and so we would always, make time to meet, more substantially than I would meet with other investigators from a time perspective, and, maybe do a dinner together. So yeah, it just felt like kind of a really good collaboration.
Okay. And then can you tell me about the current collaboration you're doing with her a little bit more in detail, like about, how long it's going to be and what both of your roles are in it?
Well, similar concept. So it's, trying to understand, in this case, how a combination of drugs work, and kind of at a pretty deep level. So we're, a clinical trial is in progress. We have samples going actually directly to her lab for some, fresh flow cytometry analysis, but banking and funding in place to do some pretty detailed kind of multi-omics, genomics, epigenomics work. The trial hasn't, is going to enroll for another couple months, so we haven't gotten too deep into analysis at this point. But that will probably continue, and there's, I think, a little bit of a non-clinical component to the proposal. Anyway, that will probably be like a 2-year thing, or at least another 1.5 years with her. And I envision it working very similar to what we've done over the past year with the single agent trial. The difference is that the strategy for that combination has kind of come and gone at our company with respect to whether it's a registration path or not. Originally it was, and so, I could have imagined the work that we were doing with Lynn again being a component of a submission. I don't think that's probably the path we're taking anymore, but it's, still like a public, something that we would want to publish along with the clinical trial results, depending how things go. And so it might just be hopefully a high quality publication about the clinical activity and our deeper understanding of the biology and mechanism. And at least in the United States, people can use drugs off label. And so, it could still help with, use of that combination in patients, at least in the United States.
Okay. So how does that happen operationally with the Oxford data and having that sort of registered in the US? How does that work?
Oh, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'm sorry, the sort of operational procedures between sort of the university and Celgene in that sense, how does that work for this particular kind of collaboration? I mean, as far as you can tell me, I mean, you don't need to disclose anything in particular, but I just wasn't sure.
No, I guess how does what work?
Sort of. You've got data coming in from the U.S., and then you said that you were registering the drug in the U.S. Oxford, and then the U.S. So how are you bringing that together to make it seamless, in a sense, I guess? That process.
Well, we've mixed up some concepts here. So there's so the drug AG221 has been last year approved for use in the United States,
Yes.
And actually